everyone, and thank you for attending the spring induction ceremony for the Xi Pi chapter of Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. My name is Tori Rutherford, and I am your 2020-2021 chapter president. I also serve as the Vice President of Leadership and as the Florida Region Awards Officer. At this time, I would like to introduce you to our 2020-2021 officer team. Vice President of Scholarship, Celeste Garcia Gonzalez. Vice President of Fellowship, Bailey Campbell. Public Relations Officer, Leanne Pito Rivera. Chapter Secretary, Ashley Graham. We're also joined by some of the incoming 2021-2022 officer team. Chapter President, Molly Grace Moore. Public Relations Officer, Melody Rose Joubert. I would also like to introduce our chapter advisors, Professor Anthony Cornett and Dr. Greg Harris. And now, this inspirational message given at the 100-year anniversary of our organization by Dr. Lynn Tincher-Ladner, CEO of Phi Theta Kappa.
Okay, Phi Theta Kappa, how did we get here? How do we go from one chapter to 8 to over 1,000? How did we go from being in one state to being in all the states to being on the outside of the United States? In preparation for our 100th birthday, we have held a mirror up to the society. And not only have we learned the answers to those questions, I have found our history to be a fantastic source of inspiration and guidance for our future. And if you haven't figured it out by now, you're about to get a history lesson from a mathematician. So hold on to your gold key member pins. It is going to get interesting. History lesson number 1 for you. Think big. In the beginning, our founders knew Phi Theta Kappa was going to be a very big deal. And while we started here in Missouri, and it took us 10 years to establish a chapter on the outside of Missouri, the vision of this organization was always to be everywhere. To take a quote from my favorite Broadway play, Hamilton, yeah, he'll be here tomorrow. The plan was to fan the spark into a flame. As you're sitting there, are you thinking big enough? Are you thinking, I'm not good enough for Harvard or Cornell or Columbia? If you're thinking those things, you are wrong. I know for a fact those schools would be lucky to have you. There are hundreds of studies of community college student success for transfer, and I have read every one of them, and I've written a few. And they all say the exact same thing. Community college students that transfer to four-year universities do just as well as the students that started there as freshmen. But you, as Phi Theta Kappans, you are more likely to be at the top of your class just as you are right now. Now, when I say think big, I want you to think really big. Don't think about just getting a job, think about creating them. Income inequality, a collapsing infrastructure, climate change, education reform, these problems need the very best minds in the world working on them. And I'm not a betting person. You will not find me in a casino, but I know my odds on you. I would bet on one of you, civic-minded, curious, intellectual, and energetic students to solve these problems for all of us. I recently had an opportunity to talk to a Phi Theta Kappa member who I consider an expert on thinking big. His name is Fred Hayes. You probably saw him in the video. Fred told me that his membership in Phi Theta Kappa was a turning point for him. He said it gave him the confidence to think big. Now, Fred went from a graduate of Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, there you're there, to second in his class in aeronautical engineering from the University of Oklahoma, all the way to the moon. So I asked Fred if he had some advice to share with you all tonight. And he said, Lynn, make sure to tell them to get a plan, even if that plan changes. And I counted it 7 times in our conversation. He said, tell them hard work pays off. It did for me and it will for them. Fred wants you to think big thoughts, dream big things, and never sell yourself short. Okay, history lesson number 2. Relationships matter a lot. Right out of the gate, this honor society made a very important decision, the name of the society. Phi Theta Kappa was not just pulled out of thin air. It was intentional. We worked alongside Phi Beta Kappa, a very prestigious and well-known honor society, and it still is. We changed one Greek letter. And we modeled ourselves after them in the beginning fully as a recognition only at the time of graduation honor society, very different from what we are today. And even though we went our own way, we owe a great deal of debt and gratitude to Phi Beta Kappa for giving us a roadmap to the success that we enjoy today. Now, 10 years later, we would take a giant step for the society. And that is when our members petitioned the American Association of Junior Colleges, now known as the American Association of Community Colleges, to recognize us as the official honor society of 2-year colleges. And they did, and we still are. But when I think about it, our relationship with AACC is the most important, significant in our history. Not only did AACC shape the second part of our mission to provide opportunities for you to grow as scholars and leaders, the growth of Phi Theta Kappa outside of the state of Missouri was a direct result of their recognition of us. It gave us a stamp of approval, the AOK signal across the nation for college presidents to start a chapter on their campus. Many of you know Phi Theta Kappa celebrates its Founders Day on November 19th of each year, but it's not at all the day we were founded. It's the day that AACC found us and recognized us as the official honor society of 2-year colleges. I think if I look, the third most significant relationship in our history was with a man named Dr. Jack Geis White. He was a transfer recruiter for Florida Atlantic University, and in 1975, he established the very first transfer scholarship, opening the doors to 750 scholarships in the future. To you, these scholarships might represent money, and they do. But to me, each one represents a relationship between Phi Theta Kappa and the 4-year schools. It's our stamp of approval, our AOK, that you are the best we've got. Phi Theta Kappa has a long history of making the right relationships with the right people at the right time. I believe this has set us apart from other organizations with similar missions, and it'll set you apart too. I encourage each of you to build meaningful and long-lasting relationships. Ask yourself, are you relationship driven? Because in today's world, being smart is not enough. Okay, history lesson number 3. Don't do it by yourself, because you really can't anyway. Initially, Phi Theta Kappa was a student-led, completely student-led organization. But as we grew, so did our need for guidance and additional leadership. And in 1967, we established the Phi Theta Kappa Board of Directors. At that time, we had 250 chapters, but we were growing rapidly. We established what is known as a constituency board, which is just a fancy way of saying each member of the board represents a group of people served by the organization. Our board is made up of a student, an alumni member, an honorary member, an advisor, a regional coordinator, a college president, and a staff member. I think you should be proud of your board of directors. They are a very diverse and knowledgeable group of people, and they are thoughtful and dedicated to moving this organization forward. But boards are not just for organizations. You can and should develop your own personal board of directors, your own tight-knit group of personal advisors. My personal board of directors is made up of diverse people who I consider know more than me in certain areas, except for math. Each one fills a very specific role and offer a unique perspective onto the problems that I am trying to solve. Some are experts in their field, others are encouragers, some are connectors, the kind of people that know everybody and want to make introductions. And some are truth tellers, the ones that keep it real by keeping you grounded. The chair of my personal board of directors is my stepfather, Wayne. I love my mother, but she's not even on my board. I have caught her more than once lying to me because telling me I'm awesome even when I'm not. Throughout my life, Wayne has been a teacher for me. I remember I got my driver's license, my learner's permit. So I got into the driver's side of the car for the first time. He gets into the passenger side. He looks at me and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm driving." And he goes, "No, you're not." And he knew something I didn't. He knew that I needed to walk before I could run. But before I was going to drive his car, I needed to learn a few things. I spent the next solid month, changing tires, checking oil levels, and all sorts of basic maintenance, yes. I know there are a few of you in the audience that are glad he did that, and I think I heard one. Yeah. In organizations and in life, a good board of directors can make all the difference in the world. But progress in life is not just about you. You have to learn to work together to be successful. Phi Theta Kappa recognizes this, and we seek to teach this in our activities. College project, honors in action, service learning, they're all team activities. Because we know to take the next innovative step in any field of study, you have to know where you are now and how you got there. But as time goes on, that gets more and more difficult for a single person to accomplish. What we need to realize is that innovation occurs in teams. And you do not need a team of people just like you, because then you just have a really big team of one person. Phi Theta Kappa, I believe you need diversity to go forward and accomplish complex problem solving. Diversity. So Phi Theta Kappa, let me end this by saying history never looks like history when you're creating it. So let's go make some, and let's be that catalyst that turns the spark into a flame. Happy birthday. Thank you.
Our guest speaker this evening is one of our chapter's biggest supporters, Polk State College Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Lee Thomas.
Hello, I'm Dr. Lee Thomas, Vice President for Academic Affairs at Polk State College. Congratulations to all the new PTK inductees. We're so very proud of you, and we expect great things from you for the future. You're joining an organization that for over 100 years has been producing leaders. So what wisdom, what knowledge do you carry forward with you from today as you get started in your leadership journey? From my perspective, I would like to offer you this thought, and that is to surround yourself with giants. That's right, surround yourself with people who have value systems, who have accomplishments, who think in a way that you admire, that make decisions in a way that you admire. Surround yourself with those people, talk to them, get to know them, spend time with them, let them mentor you. Look at their decision-making processes. Look at how they go about living life and their attitudes, and adopt those things. Make those things your own, their own thoughts, mindsets, actions, etc. And you know what? If you do that over time, you emulate them long enough, you too will become a giant. You'll become one of those people that you admire. You know, leadership is lonely, and leadership can be tough at times, especially when you take on decisions or you make decisions that are controversial. But I would say to you again, surround yourself with giants. In my own experiences, I surround myself with people who might know more than I do about a subject or an issue. I surround myself with people with a very diverse backgrounds or diverse perspectives. And I surround myself also with people who disagree with me. I find that when I do that, it's a little bit challenging, but I make better decisions. So as you move forward in life and you encounter very tough decisions, talk to people with different perspectives and talk to people with different viewpoints. Weigh their wisdom, weigh their guidance. Talk to the people whom you admire and who you wish to emulate. They'll guide you along the way. You'll make better decisions. No decision is perfect. And something that seems to be a good decision could end up being a bad decision. Something that you think might be a bad decision might end up in the long term being a good decision. Who knows how life is going to roll? Sometimes great decisions aren't realized until far into the future. So hang in there, keep making great decisions. Joining PTK was a wonderful decision for you, by the way. So great first step. And we at Polk, we support you. We're behind you all the way. And good luck. Take care.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thomas. Members, this induction is a little different. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are not only unable to be together during this time, but it has prevented us from holding an induction for over 14 months. Some of you joined us back in the spring of 2020 when the pandemic began. Some of you have just joined our chapter. Sometimes it can be difficult to enter an established chapter as a new member. So a few of us would like to share our motivations for joining Phi Theta Kappa and how our membership has changed us.
Like all of you tonight, I was inducted into Phi Theta Kappa in 2014 when I was, at the time, obtaining my AA at Polk State College. I think I can speak for many of you when I say that upon joining Phi Theta Kappa, I felt a little lost, a little unsure of what was expected of me. The best advice that I received at that time was, don't be afraid to ask questions. It's okay if you're feeling uncertain to ask. I've been inducted, now where do I go from here? Because of asking questions, I became an active member of the Xi Pi chapter. At that time, however, I did not want any more responsibility, so I never ran for an officer position. I was still feeling uncertain, but about myself and my abilities to be a leader. I received my AA in 2015, and at first I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to further my education, but not in what subject or field. So I took time to explore my interests. I learned that it's okay to not have all the answers. Sometimes you have to make a mistake or two and try again to find out what really ignites your passions. Thankfully, I figured it out sooner rather than later. I returned to Polk State College in fall of 2019, and I am now obtaining my Associates in Science in Graphic Design. Life threw some more curveballs my way with the COVID epidemic beginning shortly after my return to college. But Phi Theta Kappa, especially the Xi Pi chapter, has always been like a little family. I knew I wanted to get involved with PTK again now that I was back at PSC, so I reinstated myself as a member, and it just so happened that at the first meeting I attended, talks of officer elections were discussed. Now, a little older, and I'd like to think a little smarter too, I felt like I could not only handle the responsibilities of an officer position, but I felt like I understood more about what leadership was. Being an officer is not just a title, it's hard work and dedication. But most importantly, I think it's having answers to your questions. As a member of Phi Theta Kappa, on and off for 7 years now, I hope to be able to answer your what's next question and help guide you. Phi Theta Kappa can take you as far as you're willing to let it. And you've already come far tonight by your induction into our chapter. Welcome to Phi Theta Kappa inductees, and congratulations on your achievements. It's well earned. I hope to see you at some events in the near future.
Hi, everyone. When I graduated in June of 2020, I entered college and I was pretty nervous about college. I didn't know how I was going to make friends during COVID with everything online. So I desperately wanted to join some kind of club or organization at the college virtually. So when I was asked about being inducted into Xi Pi, I said yes. I was so excited. And in my short time here, I've already learned collaboration, hard work, and perseverance. Perseverance to continue to plan great things for the future, even though the future isn't in our control. To have more flexibility and be ready for anything, and to always have backup plans. I've learned about college project and honors in action and how important it is to give back to our community. I've especially learned how to use Zoom pretty well. I developed a strong passion about Xi Pi. When I was approached about presidency, I was nervous because I first graduated from high school. I just graduated. It was my first year in college. I mean, how was I going to do this with such big shoes to fill? I eventually said yes. And Xi Pi it's like a family. It's not just a chapter. As your president, I promise to bring you fun events, bring great public speakers, and I promise to implement a mentorship program and make this chapter a safe space for everyone. I promise to lead with honor and continue to make this chapter one we are proud of. I promise to help create an honors in action project that will help members in our community and represent who we are, a chapter that cares. I promise to make this a family for everyone and an unforgettable year. So thank you for your trust in me, and I hope to lead you well.
Thank you, Melody and MG. Phi Theta Kappa has been one of the driving forces of my college career. Joining the chapter in the fall of 2019, I was just as nervous as some of you may be. However, I quickly realized that Phi Theta Kappa was more than just an honor society. It was family. While I'm sure you've heard this before, it remains true for us. As our chapter has grown and evolved, I have seen myself grow as well. I have gained new friends, developed new skills, and acquired precious memories. When looking back at the time I've spent at Phi Theta Kappa, I think the word that best comes to mind is resilience. COVID-19 created many challenges for Xi Pi's year, but despite these challenges, our chapter has grown tremendously. We made new friends, interacting in virtual methods of communication and fellowship that we had not practiced before. We discovered new ways to create an impact and make a difference in the lives of others. We created new leadership development practices, establishing a solid base for next year's membership. Because of our resilience, ability, and desire to make a difference, we have established ourselves as the number 7 chapter in the world out of almost 1,300 chapters. We won awards regionally and internationally, and we're even featured on the local news for our honors in action and college projects. The Polk County School District is in the process of distributing our COVID-19 resource guide to over 100,000 public school students. I know that all of you being inducted today share the same resilience as the members who came before you. You have been through what no one would have ever thought possible. Despite this, you have risen above and beyond in your academic achievements. We would love for those of you who are staying at Polk State College to become as active as you can with us. Help us continue the good work we established this year, because there are so many people that could use this assistance. I know that XiPi's future possibilities are endless because whatever XiPi collectively puts its mind to do, we can do when we do it together.
Honored guests and fellow Phi Theta Kappa members, I am pleased to present you these candidates for membership in the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. These students have fulfilled all requirements for membership and have been selected because they have chosen leadership, scholarship, service, and fellowship as hallmarks with which to guide their lives. I recommend them for acceptance into the XiPi chapter of Phi Theta Kappa.
You are about to be inducted into a scholarly fellowship, which embraces 2-year colleges, not only from the state of Florida, not only the United States, but the entire world. After induction, you will find amongst the members an atmosphere of scholarship, to which you must give of yourself, so that the organization may be meaningful to you. Everything in our organization has meaning. The torch, symbolic of knowledge, is the servant of wisdom. It dwells with prudence and leads in the way of righteousness during the paths of judgment.
The white rose exemplifies the purity and beauty of life, with its white buds signifying intellectual associations.
This is the emblem of Phi Theta Kappa. It consists of a golden slab keyed at the top and bottom. The golden field, like the escutcheon of our coat of arms, refers to the golden opportunities that abound for Phi Theta Kappans as evidenced from their culture and performance of good works. Since gold is the most noble of metals, it shall have a further significance to our society, representing that nobility is attained by those who achieve intellectual leadership. Our purpose is to foster a spirit of devotion to study and to encourage scholarly ideals among our members. Across the slab, you will observe a black band. Shining through the black background are 3 Greek letters. They represent the 3 ideals which bind us together. These principles are embodied in these Greek terms, which stand for phroemon, meaning wisdom, thumos, meaning aspiration, and katerotes, meaning purity.
These words exemplify cultural self-control, which creates the necessary foundation for a successful society. Behind the band is a wreath. On the left side are oak leaves, which stand for stability and strength of character, as symbolized by the sturdy oak. The graceful curling leaves on the other side are those of the laurel tree, which signify achievement and success. All are attributes for membership in our society. Above the band is a representation of the head of Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom and learning. This badge stands as a symbol for the high idealism of our organization and membership in our select group. At this time, we would like to call forward the inductees. Would the inductees please stand? Yes, even you at home.
Now that the standards and ideas of this organization have been fully revealed to you, it is time for you to complete the pledge which admits you into our fellowship. Repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly promise on this 30th day of April 2021 to uphold the standards of Phi Theta Kappa and to keep this object and aim in mind. I do solemnly pledge allegiance to my fellow members and promise to aid them in all worthy endeavors. It is my pleasure to welcome you into the Xi Pi chapter of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society and the Lively Fellowship of Scholars it affords. I salute you for your accomplishments. I charge you to explore always for the truth and to dedicate yourselves to the cultivation of the well-reasoned life, a prelude to service and honor. So here's the time where I get to brag about this chapter. I know quite a few of you have joined as far back as 4 semesters ago, since we haven't had an induction ceremony since the fall of 19, whereas some of you may have just joined at the end of the fall term or in this spring term. So I want to kind of give you all some insight as to how our chapter members view this chapter and how it has sort of changed people's lives. So you joined the Xi Pi chapter, and we are part of the Florida region. Now, the Florida region, not every state has a region. You can see that small states often get clumped together, or very large unpopulated states get clumped together. The Florida region does include some international chapters, including the chapters in Puerto Rico, the British Virgin Islands, and I believe we have added Peru to that list as well. The Florida region is located within Division 2. There are 4 major divisions in Phi Theta Kappa. And each one has a vice president, and we have an overall international president. And we have to kind of go back a couple years to kind of give you some insight. So starting in the 2016-2017 year, this chapter exploded. We had been in the top, we were #1 in Florida in 16-17 and 17-18. We were in the top 30 in the world in 16-17 and 17-18. We were top 10 in the world in 16-17. Then comes the 18-19 year. This was the last year we had an internationals, a catalyst ceremony that some of you may have went to. That was 100% online, both last year and this year. And this was actually in Orlando. This chapter, the 18-19 chapter, won all these awards at the Florida Regional Awards Banquet and won all of these awards at internationals. And then came the 1920 year. The 1920 year, outside of basically a couple awards for myself and for a distinguished member for Brenda Montez and an art award for Leanne Peter Rivera, your outgoing PR officer, our chapter dropped out of the top 100 for the first time in 4 years and out of the top 30 in the world for the first time in 3 years. We dropped from #1 in Florida for 3 consecutive years to #7 in Florida out of 86 chapters in the Florida region. #7 wouldn't have been bad had we not been doing so well. And then of course comes this coming year, the 2021 year, which pretty much began during the COVID epidemic. So that officer team began on May 1st. The school went in full lockdown mode in the third week of March. So this year's team had to not only complete all of their projects and do all of their work, but they had to do it under full COVID lockdown. And for those of you who have been watching our social media, or especially those of you who may have attended Catalyst digitally, you realize that we're back. This team performed exceptionally. Not only did they win multiple awards at the Florida Regional Ceremony, we had 2 of the 3 distinguished officers in the entire Florida region. Each chapter may submit 2 officers. I have never seen 2 officers from the same chapter win, but this year we did. So we literally had 2 of the 3 best officers in Florida. We won Distinguished College Project Award for our COVID-19 Assistant Help page on Canvas, and a Distinguished Honors in Action Award for the COVID-19 resource guide that was sent to the Polk County School District. And we went back to being #1 in Florida for the 4th time in 5 years. You can see flyers, digital flyers that were created for a lot of our events that we held online. This team had to shift all chapter operations to a digital format, and we had never done that ever. Like we have had the capability through Canvas, through Zoom, to do digital meetings and do digital events in the past, but we have never done a single one. So this team literally had to create an online presence and create online events from scratch. This is our leadership team. The 2 members you see there, Molly Grace Moore, who was inducted during this ceremony. She is our incoming chapter president, and Melody Rose Jubert, she is our incoming PR officer. But you can also see we won international awards. Distinguished Officer for Leanne. That is actually the first Distinguished Officer this chapter has ever won at internationals. We won College Project, Honors in Action, and we were considered the 6th finalist for the Most Distinguished Chapter, meaning the Most Distinguished Chapter is #1. We were ranked #7 in the world from 1,285 chapters internationally. And all of this was achieved during the COVID-19 lockdown. The chapter itself was locked out of the campus for the most part of about 6 months, and we certainly couldn't really go into public and do anything. So this chapter managed to accomplish all of this, coming out of what is considered the worst year for our chapter, certainly awards-wise, in the past 5 or 6 years. Project-wise, the projects I thought were solid, but they managed to accomplish all of this despite COVID-19. And if anything, the things that this team was able to accomplish will be carried on. So even when we go back to normal, and we start having face-to-face meetings and face-to-face events again, we will still have some events online because we realize how convenient that online capability can be for many of our members. To give you a snapshot of what XiPi has managed to accomplish, in the past 10 years, we have won 42 Florida Regional Awards, 31 International Awards. We've held 9 regional level officer positions, 5 awards at the college. Now 21 of all these awards have been about developing leaders. And that is, for those of you who know me, who have attended orientations and chapter events, that is one of my primary focal points, is how can we make you guys more well-rounded and develop your leadership skills. And I do love bragging about my chapter. Anyone who has ever met me knows that Phi Theta Kappa is pretty much, I would say, the most important part of my job at Polk State College. And you can see where we're going. From 2013 to 2016, we won 15 total awards. From 2016 to 2021, and remember, we're not even through 2021 yet, we won 58 awards in the past 5 years. And we're just getting warmed up because we have you guys. Now, I know, again, this is a ceremony for 4 semesters worth of you, and I know a lot of you are graduating, but for those of you who are sticking around the college, or those of you who just got inducted, in 2021, what will your contribution be? We want you to be a part of this family, and there is always a place for you. And if you want to take a leadership position, please let me know, email me, and we have 5 officer positions available. And I'm sure that you will find your experience in XiPi to be as rewarding as this year's team has found it to be.
Normally at this time, we would take pictures, both as a group and with your families. But since we are unable to together to celebrate this induction, we would like your help with something. We would like to make an induction photo album. If you can take pictures of yourself and with your family, if you wish, with the golden key symbol of Phi Theta Kappa in the background, and email them to us, we'll assemble them into a photo album and email the link to all new inductees.
Congratulations to the new inductees. You can keep up to date on all of our Xi Pi events on our Facebook page, Instagram, or in our Canvas shell. If you haven't joined any of our socials, please email us and we can help you get signed up. Again, welcome to Xi Pi, and we look forward to meeting each of you.